They been on their ass, bitch, I'm on the rail. I wrap it, I bag it, I pack it for sale. Got feeling on speed out, I hit me to chill. I give it a thrill, I put it on film. Niggas facade, get applaud, that ain't real. Come to my section and flex, we can tell. I got a show and she dipping them nails. I'm flipping my L's, I know they can tell. I did it too major, they hit me for favors. Been him since the cable was cut in the cradle. What's up, only right that I do it. Colossal until I'm a boss, so they want me to fail. Look, we prevail. Tell them to point out who said it, they run it. Bitch, I'm on your tail. Know that they talking, they telling them tales. Just know how to tell, that shit for the sale.
Honestly, I know it's hard to believe, but you have to trust me. It's got maximum taste and zero sugar.
Stop playing games, wooden boy.
No, I'm a real boy.
Pepsi Max. Maximum taste, zero sugar. Try and believe.
What do you see here? Maybe history, or maybe it's the future.
Amarti mi consola. Amami ancora. Fallo dolcemente. Un anno e mezzo, un'ora.
Tonali plug-in hybrid, a new charge of sportiness.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Velocity Ultimate Masters Team Racing League here for round number 9 of the Division 1 Championship. My name is, of course, Michael Edwards. Going to be taking you through the action as always here in Division 1, and joining me in the commentary box is the one, is the only, is Johnny Damon. How are you doing, mate?
I'm doing well. How are you tonight, Mike?
I am doing fantastic. Looking forward to an exciting round of more Division 1 action. Of course, tonight we take in the brilliant Circuit of the Americas as we head to Texas for the American Grand Prix. The 5.5 kilometer circuit in length, 20 corners, 2 DRS zones, one up the hill in towards turn number 1 and one down the long straight down towards the break-in for turn number 12. But before we get into all that, I think we should have a quick reminder of what happened last time out in Division 1, where, of course, we went racing in Hungary. And, of course, it was ET8 Azim who did take a victory ahead of Neverlast Racing's Kiki in second place. And then, of course, we had Matteo in P3. TF10's Dirk in P4 with GL's Johan in P5. TF10's Enzo in P6. CPI Jordan in P7. Neverlast Racing's Ryan in P8. NRT's Seeb in P9, and of course X Esports Luca Rapaza rounding out the top 10. Outside the top 10, it was X Esports' Barak or BR4 in 11th, IRT Gurnman in 12th, GT10 Boyolulu in 13th, with Shazoo Nick in 14th for Team Shazoo. Then of course we had WOR's Sam Van Marison in 15th. Then of course we had GT10's Quartz in 16th, Shazoo's Sasha, and along with GL Gill and CPI Eagle, all unable to see the checkered flag, of course, as they all DNF'd. And of course WR had to serve one driver a ban, if I remember correctly off the top of my head. But coming in tonight, it's going to be an interesting one, Damon. I mean, the Circuit of the Americas, a track where it's not so much about the tyre wear that's the issue. It's always been tyre heating, trying to keep those temps down. And around a circuit like this, it's going to be very tricky for these drivers to keep their temps in check.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. Definitely keeping your temperatures down. Also being patient through Sector 3, knowing you have the DRS zone up into Turn 1. So drivers just need to be patient throughout the Grand Prix, make their moves at the right time. And track limits can be very tricky as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Of course, that's Sector 1 as you go through from turn number 3 all the way to turn number 9 in at the beginning of the middle sector. Very easy just to overstep the boundaries and exceed the track limits there. And then, of course, I mean, you mentioned the final sector about being patient. The one key overtaking zone in the final sector is usually turn 15. And you can have a little bit of a lunge down the inside into that corner. And obviously, infamously, is the gust of wind corner as well for the triple right-hander coming through the final sector. But it's going to be an interesting one. Let's have a quick look at the current standings, as we have Neverlast Racing currently leading the way on 253 points, with ET8 also above the 200 point mark on 201 after a fantastic double podium last time out. CPI Esports currently in P3 on 188, with GL Esports team in P4 on 174. And of course we got TF10 on 167. X Esports in 6th place on 153, GT10 on 120, WR Esports in 8th place on 104 points, and then we've got International Racing Team IRT on 99 points, so just underneath the 100 point barrier. And then of course we got Team Shazoo on 59 points. Of course they joined after round number 5, so they haven't been here for the entire season, so that is why they are making their way up the order the best they can. Obviously, looking at the current standings right now, we see Neverlast Racing does have a bit of a healthy lead at the front, Damon. Do you think anyone is going to be able to reel that in between now and the end of the season?
I wouldn't be surprised if ETA Esports kind of starts to reel them in, especially having that double podium last time out. So it will give them a little bit more confidence here going into round 9. So hopefully for the rest of the season, they can continue to find themselves towards the top of the grid and gaining some points. And maybe they'll close that gap today here at Circuit of the Americas.
Yep, maybe it will indeed. Of course, Circuit of the Americas, I think, is no better thing for us to do right now but to head to the action out on track. Of course, we are midway through qualifying, and we've had some times come through, and you see Neverlast Racing's Gustav there on pole position as it currently stands. Luca Rapaza currently on the front row joining them. And of course, we've got the Shazoo pairing of Nick and Dara in P3, P4. Sorry, I said Neverlast Racing's Gustav. Unfortunately, not Neverlast Racing's Gustav. I am mistaken. I believe it's ET8's Gustav. Now, obviously, with Neverlast Racing in the Williams car, confusion there with the names, but I do apologise. Looking a little bit overcast here in qualifying, and that's the one thing that we didn't mention, is that the potential for changeable conditions. I mean, I've raced around here many times where it's been wet conditions. I'm sure you have as well, and it is one of those circuits where it can throw up a bit of a spicy race in terms of track conditions.
Yeah, definitely wet weather can come into play here, and it will be extremely tricky. We'll take out the 2 DRS zones, so the opportunity for passing is going to be limited. It's all going to be about exit speed off the corners to get that run. But I am hoping some wet weather comes into play, because I do enjoy seeing a little bit of rain.
Yeah, absolutely. So we will have to wait and see if we are going to get any of these wet conditions going in the session. Right now, we have Gustav right now, who's on a out lap. So we'll stay on board with Gustav, who will get us going for a flying lap around this fantastic American circuit. Honestly, in terms of the tracks that we currently have in America at the moment, this one's actually my favorite one out of them. So I mean, Miami is a lottery. Same with Vegas, but we'll go on board with Gustav here as he is getting himself geared up to go for a flying lap around the Circuit of the Americas, and I'm going to take you through on a full flying lap around the Texan track as we come through the final corner. Going to be looking for the best exit possible. DRS wide open now as we run all the way down in towards turn number Going to be looking at the black box on the right hand side for the braking point as we head through third gear, the gear choice here for Gustav. Now coming through turn number 2, keeping it very tight and trying to open yourself up to go through turns number 3, 4, 5 into turn number 6, and you saw a little bit of a ghost situation there. Unfortunately, the ghosting did come through, but I think that might have just put Gustav off just a little bit because that is the lap over and done with for him already. However, he is still pushing, so we'll stay on board with him to see what kind of lap time he would have done as we go through turn number 11 now at the hairpin. Good traction on the exit, and this would have been a beautiful little slipstream teamwork going on between the two Mercedes as they come down now into the braking for turn number 12. Just before the 100-meter board, and just runs a little bit too deep, so the overspeed just catching Gustav out a little bit. And now through 13 and 14 into the key overtaking opportunity in the final sector at turn 15, where we see so many different lines being taken through that corner, and now through the triple right-hander of 16, 17 and 18 in towards the penultimate corner now, turn 19, where you can easily run right and pick up a track limit warning there. Into turn number 20 and now, and DRS to the line, and Gustav does back off, but it would have been close to his previous lap time.
Yeah, he would have had a great lap. I am following along with some of these folks as they come through sector 3, and a few of them have missed that turn 15, going a little wide off it. So that is going to be a key point here during qualifying to make sure you get your braking point right and get a good exit off of turn 15 to not hit that track limit.
Yeah, Luca there with a big improvement going up into P3, 3/10th improvement there for the Alpine, as we have GL's Ghost King that is really struggling right now, and I think there's a disconnect issue going on with Ghost King, so hopefully that can be sorted ASAP. On board right now with Neverlast Racing's Knuff now coming in towards turn number 11. Teammate up ahead, so we're going to be trying to utilise our slipstream. Little bit of a snap in midway through turn 11. That would have compromised him somewhat on the exit, as DRS is now wide open, as Nick for Team Shazoo puts on provisional pole is a 31.4, so about a 10th ahead as it currently stands. But good slipstream work from the Neverlast Racing pair as we come through the middle sector, as 1 minute 1.7 in the middle sector for Knuff. Yet to get a lap time on the board. Same with Mikula and obviously Ghost and Felkos for GT10. Yet to get lap times on the board, but we're on board right now with Knuff now coming into the penultimate corner, turn 19. Fifth gear, the gear of choice, just about keeps it within track limits, and unfortunately, because you saw the understeer there just dragging him out wide through the penultimate corner, but it will be a P10 right now for Knuff and all Neverlast Racing 5th row right now.
Yeah, good lap by Knuff there, putting himself right behind his teammate. So we might see some teamwork come into play through the Grand Prix. It'd be very interesting to see how that is going to work out for the Williams team.
Yep, absolutely. As we got Dango coming through the final sector right now. Was 3/10 up in the middle sectors. We're going to see if he's able to hold this through the final sector now. Entering the penultimate corner, 5th gear, throwing the car in. Not understeering as wide as what we saw with Knuff there moments ago, but to the line will come Dango, and it is a half a second improvement, but does not improve his starting position as it currently stands. And I mean, right now, I think unless you are aiming for a low 31 here, I think pole position might be out of the question.
Yeah, pole position of 131.4. That is pretty fast lap there. I am on board with G10 Felkos here as he's rounding the final corner. He's going to come across the line, unfortunately, with 32.9. So he is a half a second off of all the runners that have ran a lap at this point.
Yeah, unfortunately for Felkos, as unable to get as high up the order as GT10 would have wanted him to do. Obviously, they would prefer him to be up there with quads right now inside the top 10, but it's still time in the session, as we've got just over 3 minutes and 40 seconds remaining. So I think Velcros might just have enough time to get back to the pits, maybe, and get back out. I mean, it's going to be close, but he should have just enough time.
Yeah, he will have enough time to get into the pit and come back out. He's going to want to make that final out lap, though, pretty quick, just to make sure he can get to the line on time. But it doesn't look like anybody else is currently on a lap. We do have some folks that just came out of pit lane, such as Gustav, looking to potentially gain another 10th on his time to put himself on pole position.
Yeah, absolutely. Of course, the first man that will be setting the final flying last will, of course, be Gustav here. Right now, the lead car on an out lap, so we'll stay on board with Gustav. Again, hopefully this time his lap goes better than previous, because, of course, the invalidation on the last lap really did put a little bit of pressure, especially with Nick finding that time as well. And now is now or never for Gustav here in the Mercedes.
Yeah, I'm gonna ride on board with him here, making his way towards the final corner of turn 20, getting ready to open up that DRS at about 100 meters here. Got the flap wide open, making a run up the hill towards turn 1, and I will let you take it from here, Mike.
Yep, so we're coming in towards turn number 1, breaking down third gear there for Gustav, getting good traction on the exit. Once again, going to keep it nice and tight for turn number 2. And now it's all about picking the right line as you go through 3 to open yourself up into 4, 5, and then of course the double right-hander of turn 6. Now in towards turn number 7, the breaking down now for turn number 8 as the track begins to climb and then descend as you head through turn number 10 in towards turn number 11. Breaking down, you see the traffic up ahead of Gustav. This will be beneficial in terms of a slipstream, but will not be ideal if these guys do not move out of the way as quickly as possible. But going to get a nice toe off his teammate coming down the back straight in towards turn number 12 now, breaking just before the 100-meter board. This time does keep it within the track limits, but you saw a big snap of the rear there on the exit of turn number 12 as we head through 13 and 14 now. They're breaking in towards turn number 15. Gotta be good on the traction coming out of here, because once again the track does tend to just make you want to lose the car as we go for the triple right-handers. They're now in towards turn number 19, keeping it all valid. No, and he just exceeds the track limit there, does Gustav, and he'll cross the line. Would it have been an improvement? It would have been an improvement. I'm not sure if it would have been enough for a pole, but definitely would have made his P2 a bit more secure.
Yeah, it would have helped him there on his P2. Following along, we got a lot of Sector 3 all getting ready to start some laps, but we will jump on board with Luca and see if he potentially has the pace to put himself up another 10th and a half to P2, or maybe almost 3/10 into P1.
Yeah, this is going to be a big lap for Luca. Obviously, we got Nick currently out there on a lap as well, as he's coming up to the first sector split. Let's see if Nick is up on his time. Marginally down. Invalidation there for Nick, so Nick is not going to be improving on his lap time whatsoever. Luca now in the first sector, going to be looking to find his time. No, knowing that both cars in front of him cannot improve on their lap times. Big lap now for Luca, marginally down in the first sector, as we see a lot of traffic into turn 11, which is not ideal, as these guys trying to jostle for position to get out of each other's way if they're not on quick laps, but also to try and help their teammates out if they're not finding the lap time they need. The checker flag is out in the session, as we have, I believe that was one of the Alpha Tauris crossing the line of. I believe that was Falcos crossing the line, unable to improve as we got Gustav spinning around there as his teammate Lars will cross the line, and an improvement there for Lars goes into P2, a 0.5 for Lars, as Dara also done in the session. Luca marginally up in the middle sector, needs to find a bit more time currently been knocked down to P5 as the Shazoo pairing and of course the ETA pairing are now ahead of Luca. But Luca's had a big moment and has gone completely off at turn 19, and that is essentially his qualifying over and done with. Marlon on the cooldown lap, same with Max Power here, and of course we got Sieb coming into the pit lane as well. That is the end of qualifying, Damon, and it is Shazoo's Nick's lap time that does prevail in the end, and prevails by a half a tenth.
Yeah, Nick was able to keep that pole position despite some of these folks invalidating their time for their final run. But qualifying pretty close here. We got a couple folks all within a tenth of the driver in front of them. So it should be an interesting race coming through for the fight for podium. But if I am correct, that is ET8 right there in the Mercedes team, and they are P2 and 3 on the grid, so they have a good opportunity to close that gap to NLR.
Yeah, absolutely, and of course with ET8 now having a decent bit of track position on Neverlast Racing, it's going to be incredibly crucial for them to continue on. But let's run you through the order one more time. It is, of course, Shazoo's Nick on pole position ahead of Lars, who joins him on the front row. Just under 600 of a second separating those two drivers in the end. Gustav currently in P3 with Dara in P4. Luca Rapazza in P5 with Luca Kart in P6. Ethan in P7 with Baki in P8. Marlon P9, and of course Max Power rounding out the top 10 in that fantastic CPI car. Then of course we got GT10's Quads in 11th with Knuff in 12th. CPI Mikala in 13th with Sieb in 14th. Bombier in 15th with Danko in 16th. Felkos in 17th, and Ghost King, who had issues in the qualifying session, down there in 18th place. So unfortunate day for a Ghost King, as we have ET8's Owen in the chat, obviously in here showing support to his fellow ET8 teammates, and we're going to be seeing if they're going to be able to come out on top here in the Circuit of the Americas. But right now it looks like blue skies here, Damon, and that is going to be a bonus for the drivers out there now.
Yeah, it's going to be a big bonus for the drivers here. However, there was a message that came through. We will be retiring immediately and doing a lobby restart here. So I'm not sure if they go back to dynamic weather or if they just continue with what they have received in the session.
I believe we try our best to make sure that the lobby is as close to the original as possible. Of course, we can never get completely identical, obviously, with obviously if there's rain potentially falling, obviously sometimes in that it would come a little bit earlier or a little bit later. But all the drivers retiring out on track, so we're going to take you back to our comms scene for the time being and discuss, of course, what we have in store for this race. Because once again, let me just remind you guys of the standings. Neverlast Racing currently lead the way by 52 points. Now, you might think 52 points, that's a lot of points, and that's going to be difficult to overturn. But when you look at the point system here in Velocity's Ultimate Masters Team Racing League, 52 points is not really a secure amount of points to be ahead by someone by, when you look at the point system here.
Yeah, I have not looked at the point system exactly for Velocity Ultimate Masters. Okay, so yeah, no, I mean, with 30 points be given to first place, anything can definitely happen, especially with a close grid like this. You know, only 7/10 all the way down to, I believe it was like P17 there. So you can lose a lot of points pretty quickly if you're falling through the grid.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, it is one of those instances where you just want to make sure you get for the first couple of laps, no instance whatsoever, and just kind of settle into the race. Because I mean, as you mentioned, like, you can lose a huge amount of points early on if you do fall down the order, and in a division like this, very difficult to gain those positions back if you do lose them.
Yeah, it's definitely difficult, having very tight grid like this. To be able to gain those points back, you're going to have to fight tooth and nail for every point as you're going through the Grand Prix here. So, with the end of the season creeping up, we just hope the drivers can continue to keep their patience and just make those moves when they got to make them to be able to gain as much points and opportunity. That can even bring in a lot of team play as well, to optimize the potential for maximum points.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, key battles to keep an eye on here tonight. Of course, we want to keep an eye on whether or not that gap between ETA and Neverlast Racing does close by the end. But we got a very close battle for P3 in the championship. Obviously, CPI Esports on 188. And of course, you got GL Esports team, 14 points behind CPI. And then 7 points behind GL is the TF10 team. And a very close battle right now between those three teams. And then just lurking off the back of them is, of course, X Esports, who are on 153. They're not entirely out of this battle for third either in the championship. So, I mean, there's a lot really riding on today's races, because it can propel some of these guys up the order. And with Luca's pace looking pretty good, pretty impressive around here, Luca could be looking at scoring some big points for X Esports.
Yeah, at esports, those big points could definitely help them, and just one bad race from any of these teams above them, they could be, jumping maybe a spot or two up the grid, or up in the point standings as well. So, at esports is looking to make that run late in the season, so we'll just pay attention to them as they come through the Grand Prix.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, guys, while we are getting the lobby restarted as quickly as possible, I mean, the one thing that we'll try to do is, obviously, we'll do our best to kind of keep the conversation going as best as possible. But I think it will be an entirely new lobby being made. So while we are going to be having that lobby made, I will transfer you guys over to the graphic screen so that we can go to a quick intermission, and we'll be back in just a moment's time when the lobby is set up and rearing to go. So bear with us, guys. We will be back in just a moment. Okay, guys, we are back. Very quick turnaround on the lobby restart. So, massive shout out to our lobby host for getting that sorted. Of course, VJ on that one, and yeah, we are just about loading back into what should be a fantastic race up ahead of us. And right now, this is where it's gonna get tricky. I'm gonna push you now, Damon, for your top three.
Oh boy, my top three. I'd like to see, Lucas, or Luca Rapasa, who had a pretty quick qualifying, but managed to invalidate on his final lap. So I think he's gonna finish on the podium. We will put him in P3, and I'm gonna go a little bold on this one. I'm gonna go 1-2 with ET8.
Interesting. Honestly, I do think that what's called it, we'll see Shazoo Nick take the victory here tonight. But I'm also kind of backing the double ETA podium. I think ETA are looking pretty strong here, and definitely wants to keep an eye on. But the one thing that does come into mind for me is the pit stop phase, because the undercut around here is very potent, and whoever has to stay out that extra lap is going to lose out quite considerably, I think.
Yeah, definitely. That's what I'm kind of predicting that Luca will do a massive undercut to the cars in front of him. And then I do see ET8 potentially undercutting Shazoo. Not exactly sure which one's gonna do the undercut, but on Nick, but I can see it potentially happening. And then ETA is gonna make life a little bit difficult for Nick, as they're gonna be fighting for all those points to try and close that gap up for the top step on the point standing. So I think they're going to make life a little bit difficult, and maybe Luca will take advantage of that.
And of course, I want to get your opinion on this as well, because obviously you are American. Obviously, there are three circuits right now from the United States that are currently on the F1 calendar. Obviously, Vegas, Miami, and COTA. Like, how do you feel about the multiple circuits now being on in USA at the moment? Like, do you think it's a bit too many at the moment, or do you think you could maybe get a fourth or maybe even a fifth circuit on it?
I mean, I like the three circuits they have right now, as F1 just kind of growing here in America. But I do, if they are going to put a fourth or a fifth circuit on the calendar, I'd like to see them possibly go to somewhere like Sonoma, California, or maybe even Watkins Glen in New York. But we are 3, 4, and 5 red lights, and the lights are out, and off we are.
Yep, lights out and away we go in America, as Nick gets off to a pretty good start, and we got Lars now down the inside trying to make that move stick. Dara in behind also trying to make a move on Gustav, and he does get it done. This is side by side the two Shazoo teammates, side by side now coming through the heart of the first sector, as everyone now funnels through the meaty part of the first sector, the S's, as you got Luca and battling against Luca right here. So we've got the battle of the Lucas, Luca Kart versus Luca Rapaza, side by side coming through turn number 9 now in towards turn number 10, and it's going to be Luca Kart that will be able to get that, but big dive down the inside from Luca Rapaza, and bit of contact there between the pair of them, and I think that has put Luca Kart in a horrible position, as I think with Ghost King struggling to stay connected to the lobby, it's causing a little bit of a lag issue for some of the drivers out there.
Yeah, Ghost King, all the way in the back, but I did see the Alpine drivers get together there going down into turn 11, so that is what cost Luca Kart to follow all the way back to the back of the grid.
Yeah, as Andara all over the back of Lars, really putting pressure on the ET8 driver here, and looking to try and take the race lead once again. for Team Shazoo. Right now, it is a ET8 sandwich with a Shazoo filling right now. As I was about to say, Dara looking down the inside, but in behind you're seeing Gustav down the inside of Nick as well as they're side by side on the exit. Nick looks to have got the better traction, so right now it is checkerboard between ET8 and Shazoo, with Shazoo leading that checkerboard situation.
Yeah, and you got Luca just kind of following along patiently behind him, hoping to take advantage of any mistake. But going throughout the grid, everybody is still within that DRS range. And the key thing is, everyone is also on hard tires as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Everyone opting for the white walled hard compound tyre, as we got Luca Kart trying to make his way through on some of the guys towards the back end of the field. Getting past Felkos there for P15, and Felkos appears to have a bit of a slippier car in a straight line as he closes up. As up ahead, the battle for P3 still raging on as Gustav has now managed to get his way back through on Nick and back into that podium position once again. So I mean, right now, I mean, we're seeing the top four battling out tooth and nail. ET8 and Team Shazoo going toe to toe with each other, as Luca's just sitting in behind waiting for an opportunity. Same with Ethan. You got Marlon currently in P7 with Baki in P8, and then Knuff there in P9. Looking at the chart right now, as we got Grisby and King ZC7 in the chat right now. Good evening, guys. How are you doing? Hopefully you're having a fantastic Tuesday evening as we are here racing at the Circuit of the Americas for Division 1 action here in Velocity Ultimate Masters Team Racing League.
I am on board with P10 of IRT Boom. He is seen to be all over the back of Knuth here, looking to take advantage of an opportunity as we're coming through. I believe that is turn 9, down the hill of turn 10 into 11. Let's see, DRS will be activated this time, so a lot of movement will happen throughout.
Yep, now we're going to see some overtakes happen in the midfield as Gustav closing up to the back of Lars. So both of the ETA teammates are going to elect to switch positions here. Gustav being left through into P2 by Lars. Not much fight there as you would expect between the teammates. And everyone else just keeping it nice and calm right now. Ghost King, his AI, the only one not within DRS range as you would expect with the AI car being a little bit slower and falling out of the range. As we got Admire in the chat, a CPI engineer here. So welcome in Admire, and obviously we got VJ in the chat saying good evening everyone. As Nick's at the moment, Nick has lost it through the final corner. Nick has gone around and fallen down to the back of the field. I'm not sure if there was contact there for Nick or whether lost it under traction, but Nick all the way down to the back of the field.
Yeah, I did not see if there was any contact on there, but that is kind of a tricky corner. You get on the throttle a little too early, it is going to take your rear end right out from underneath you, and that may have been the cause as well. But he was also defending pretty hard to Ethan right behind him. And so not sure if any contact did happen.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll only find out in due time if anything gets reported in towards the stewards here. Lap number 4 of 28. Dara does lead, but is trying his best to kind of bring out a little bit of a gap between himself and Gustav here. But that DRS so potent. It's just keeping the ETA driver like literally on the back of the Scuderia.
Yeah, the ETA drivers seem to be perfectly content with a P2 and P3, but once we creep up to the pit stop, the undercut will be massive for them if they can take advantage of getting in and out before Shabu there in the Ferrari.
I think the main thing right now, obviously for Gustav and Lars, is putting the pressure on Dara for the race lead and just making sure that they save up the battery. So you see Gustav there, I mean, getting a little tighter line, so they're going to be side by side coming through turn number 2, but you see Gustav is quite considerably lower on ERS than Dara right now, so Gustav right now would benefit quite well from sitting in behind the Ferrari and just saving up that battery.
Yeah, going through a grid, I mean, your top 5, it looks like Dara has the most battery out of everybody in the top 5, with Lars sitting there probably the second most battery, but the remaining drivers are all about 50%.
Yeah, as Quartz getting close to the back of Dango for the final position inside the top 10, but not close enough to go for a move. Let's move up the order. Let's go to the lead as it's about to change here as Gustav down the inside of Dara. Dara breaking a little bit early, trying to look for a switchback line, and might be able to pull it off here. He's going to have to hang it all the way around the outside. Oh my god, that's a big lunge here from Lars. As Dara squeezed all the way to the outside, and that allowed Lars potentially the opportunity to try and get through, but Dara able to hold on to P2 for the time being. Team Shazoo, their hopes now lie with Dara, obviously after Nick's incident in the final corner, whether it was a contact, whether it was down to driver error. Nick down there in P17, a lot of work to do to try and make his way back up to the field, but my god, right now we're seeing ET8 try to bully a 2v1 with Dara right now.
Dara is in that sandwich, and having Lars right behind him is not giving him any freedom or space at all for a small mistake, as Lars is ready to pounce on him.
Yeah, absolutely, and I think what we're going to see is that when Dara decides to try and go for a move on Gustav, we're going to see Gustav defend quite intently, and we will see an opportunity potentially open up for Lars in behind, but good traction out of turn 11 there for Dara, gives him a little bit of breathing space. Lars in behind, and the DRS is going to allow Dara to close up. Don't think he'll be close enough to go for a move this time around, but will be able to just make sure he's not using that battery, because that's going to be key for Dara here.
Yeah, saving the battery is key for Dara, especially if Gustav potentially boxes before him. He's going to want to use as much battery as he can to try and close that undercut to when he has to go into pit lane, which will probably be about another 8 to 10 laps is my guess.
I think we will be seeing pit stoppers coming in anywhere between lap 15 to lap 18, so that'll be my prediction on the pit stop window opening up for these guys. But right now Dara seems quite content staying in behind Gustav for the time being, as Lars cranking up the pressure on Dara. Ethan closing in as well, so I mean this will be big for Dara if Ethan can get onto the back and cause Lars a few problems, maybe help the Ferrari just pull a little bit of a gap. But you see there going way too deep into that corner. Oh, contact, as I'm not sure what went on there, but my god, Dara there pretty much came to an absolute halt, and let's see, I think we saw Lars potentially losing some front wing on the rear of the Ferrari, but Dara all the way down to the back of the field as well, along with his teammate, as Baki now up into P2, and Neverlast Racing's Marlon now into a podium position.
Yeah, NLR being up into a podium position, that is very key for them if they want to maintain the points lead and extend that gap a little bit more. Being all the way down in P6, making a move on Luca, trying to get around the outside in turn 15. A little bit of contact going through the triple right-hander here of 16, 17, and 18, running into 19 now around the outside, and he still has not completed that move as Luca's fighting pretty hard.
Yeah, and I think that is 100% wing damage we got on Lars's car, because Lars immediately into the pit lane, And that allows Luke to get through on Knuff here, but Knuff going to come right back at him in towards turn number 1. Down the inside goes the Neverlast Racing driver and should be able to get his position done. In behind though, you see Quartz getting through on both Dank and I believe that was Mikala there in that battle as well. Mikala with a 3-second timeout. The only driver so far with that time penalty to his name, and honestly, I think we may be seeing some stewards reports come in pretty soon. But right now, that does mean that Gustav does have a quite considerable lead out in front right now. 2.5 seconds, over 2.5 seconds to Baki in behind. And the only way for Baki, Marlon and Ethan to potentially get themselves into a position where they can fight with Gustav for the race win is to work together. That's the only way they're going to do it. They're going to have to put away any rivalries that they have currently. They're going to have to work together to try and close up on the Mercedes up ahead.
Yeah, it would be good for them to work together to find some time, but Gustav is still opening up that gap. We're about 3 seconds now, so him breaking the DRS toe behind him is actually allowing him to extend his lead. And so yeah, Bucky, Moreau, and Ethan will definitely have to work together to find any time on him.
Absolutely, and of course we've got another split between Ethan and Knuff there, 2 seconds of gap between those two drivers. So the instance early on between Nick and well, whatever happened with Nick, and obviously the instance between Dara and Lars. That particular incident has caused a bit of a gap to form up at the front, and of course in the battle for P5, as I believe yellow flags in the final sectors. I think Dara's made a big mistake, or potentially moved over to let Lars back through. Maybe, I'm not entirely sure, but Lars now back ahead of Dara, so he'll be happy to be ahead of the Shazoo driver, although he won't be happy to be essentially so far behind in terms of this race. And obviously on those medium tyres will potentially have to make another pit stop at some point in this race, and he might be able to go to the end, but those tyres are going to be very worn. As Mikala and Quartz now side by side coming through the double right-hander at 13 and 14, now in towards turn number 15. Bit more wheel-to-wheel contact between the pair of them as they do tap side pods as well, and looks like Quartz is going to hold on to P9.
Yeah, Quartz with a nice move around the outside there in turn 15 to hold on to P9. But McKiller is going to be looking to get him back here on the start-finish straight as they make their run up into turn 1. He does have that DRS open, but Quartz also has DRS to the car in front.
Yeah, and this is where putting pressure and taking advantage of mistakes becomes so crucial for these guys that are in DRS trains. 100%. Lars with the fastest lap of the race, as you would expect on those medium compound tyres, as Dara has retired from the session, so no points for Dara. And see Team Shazoo's points now lie in the hands of Nick, who is trying his best to close back up to these guys up ahead. He's 1.5 seconds off the back of Seed, and of course the DRS train goes all the way up to Knuff in 5th place. So if he can get into that train, then he will have an opportunity to potentially jump some places in the pit stop phases and claw some much needed points back after the incident that we saw for Nick in the final corner, and of course with Dara now out of the race after the incident that he's had with Lars.
Yeah, it's very unfortunate for Shazoo. Not looking good here in regards to points. I know they joined round 5 here in the season, and they were gaining some pretty good points throughout. So it looks like it's going to be a very unfortunate evening for the Shazoo team, and hope to maximize as much points as they can with Nick still on the circuit.
Yeah, absolutely. Nick now, all the hopes for Team Shazoo lies on Nick, as Lars is all over the back of the AA of Ghost King, so not much of a battle that'll be, but an extra position for Lars in this race, which he will be happy with.
I do think Ghost King actually is back in. That car is not ghosted there into turn 1. I'm not sure if he was able to retake control of his car, but I did see him join back into the session as he's all over Lars right now coming through sector 1S's. So I'm not sure if he may be able to take control of his car or not.
It looks like he might have potentially been able to take control of it, but we'll keep an eye on that situation the deeper into the race that we go, as we got Luca Rapanza closing in on Knuff for P5. Not going to look for any moves down the inside, and that gap between Gustav and Baki holding steady at around 3 seconds.
Yeah, it's nice that Baki's able to hold that gap around the 3 seconds. Back through the grid though, all the way to 2.5 to Knuff, so they are losing time to Ethan right in front of them.
Yeah, I think these guys heard what I was saying earlier, that they need to work together here. And right now, Baki doing a good job of closing the gap as best as he can on Gustav. And obviously we've got Marlon and Ethan doing their best to save up some batteries, so when they do decide to go for the overtake on Baki, they can continue the work that Baki's done in closing in even more in this race. But right now, we're setting a new fastest lap once again, and showing that he does have great pace around here. Just that one incident that happened with Dara moments ago.
Yeah, I do think that Lars is within that gap. I'm going to pull up here what the gap is to the leader. So he is under 22 seconds to the leader, so there is potential for him to overtake a lot or get a massive undercut, but he does still have to box one more time, as the Ephesians will be screaming by the end of this Grand Prix.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, they will be screaming by the end of this Grand Prix, but I think Lars potentially might be able to take the mediums all the way to the end. They will be incredibly warm, but they just might be able to make it to the end.
That would be nice for him to make it to the end, potentially battle for. I don't see him getting onto the podium now with screaming medium tires, but he will potentially put himself into the top 10, which is just damage control at that point.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, can play a phone inside for the likes of Baki, Marlon and Ethan in this race, maybe backing them up into the likes of Knuff, Luca, Rapanza, Bontier and Dango, and obviously everyone in that train. That might be the play, obviously, for Lars and 88 now, because that instant has put Lars in a not an ideal situation now, obviously on the mediums, what I would assume to be all the way to the end at this stage for Lars, but maybe they'll be looking at what's called trying to use Lars as a way to back up the three in behind Gustav into the trailing pack in behind Knuff.
Yeah, that would be ideal to use Lars as a backup there, kind of back up the field, give Gustav a little bit more space, but Gustav has actually opened that gap back up over 3 seconds. He was just being 3.2 down the straight into turn 12. So he's definitely got some more pace, and he is opening up the gap a little bit more.
Yeah, and Gustav pulling ahead of backing even more and unleashing his pace on the circuit as we're on lap 13 of 28 as we're about to approach the halfway distance in this race. Gustav leads the way back in second place, Marlon in P3, Ivan in P4, and then of course we've got Knuff in P5, and that is Nikola now into the pit lane here on lap 14, and let's see where you'll come up relative to Lars here. So obviously we got Falcos in the pits as well, and there'll be mediums for the pair of them. What is the gap between themselves and Lars as they exit the pit lane now? And I believe the gap will be around about
Almost
4
8 to 9
seconds.
seconds. Yeah, we're looking at Lars here, so he was able to get in front of Me Killer. He's about 8.5 seconds in front of him at the time being, but Me Killer is going to have some fresher mediums, pit lap fresher mediums, so just wondering how far can Lars really hold on to these mediums, and how much pace is he going to lose once they start to get worn down.
We got Admire in the chat saying he can't make it to the end, so that might be an indication that potentially that CPI might have ran the mediums to see just how long he can take them in this race, and doesn't think that Lars will be able to take him to the end of this race. Obviously, time will tell. He might be accurate in the fact that he might not be able to take him to the end. Obviously, there's 6 laps further worn than obviously the fresh mediums on Mikula and Felpos's tyres, but we're gonna see what happens in this race. I'm very intrigued.
Yeah, we just had a bunch more drivers out of the top 10 there, all dive into pit lane, put on fresh medium, and Lars is actually going to come out in front of them as well. He's going to have a pretty decent sized gap. So Lars is, his mediums, he's going to want to probably box at some point again, maybe for another set of mediums, and potentially use that all the way to the end and have the freshest set on the circuit.
Am I saying in the chat, Oscar was talking from Lars, obviously, I did say that, we were talking about Lars, but I said maybe you've done some like long distance running on the mediums and with some of the guys, and mentioned Mikula being on 6 lap fresher mediums compared to Lars up ahead. I apologise if there was a little bit of misunderstanding there, but it is all good as the gap is around 6 seconds between Luca Rapaza and Lars now, and I expect that gap to fly down as we got the leaders now into the pit lane, and we will see if Lars is going to have a good enough gap in front of them now as he comes over to cross the start finish line. Again, lap 16 of 28. He should come out ahead of his teammate, only just though. In fact, he's going to immediately let his teammate go, and that is smart work there from the ET8 teammate. So Lars going to be letting Gustav go immediately, and into the net race he once again goes Gustav. That's my busy listening to drivers at the same time, so yeah, can't do much. It's all good, my friend, it's all good. Engineers do have to engineer, and trust me, I've done engineering in the past. It can be a strain once you're listening to multiple people at once. But yeah, 3 drivers yet to make a pit stop. Obviously, Max Power in P3, Luca Car in P2, and of course Danko currently in the race lead. As Max Power now close up to the back of Luca Car, but not going to go for the move here as of yet. And we're seeing Marlon absolutely fly up to the back of Lars here. So I think what I said earlier might actually be the play from ET8. Like potentially Lars is going to back all these guys up, make them battle each other, and then go for the pit stop to potentially try to close on to the back on at the end of the race on fresher, softer compounded tyres. But time will tell. Of course, Maya said that they can't get to the end of the race. Of course, they are 8 laps older than the freshest of the medium tyres that are out on track right now. And there is going to be a big old distance if Lars is able to pull it off, and it'll be a big tire saving mission for him. But I don't know, I mean, is it, we could be seeing Lars coming into the pits most likely by I'm going to say lap 21 for a softs and that, but Marlon gets through, and you can see Lars there just a complete lack of grip compared to the Neverlast Racing driver up ahead. Not really much he could do about that. And now with Marlon up ahead, this is going to give Marlon a bit more confidence to try and push on after Gustav.
Yeah, Marlon is getting by him as well. Lars is going to have DRS here down the long straight, so he will be using that to defend against Baki as he's going into turn 12. But there is potential if Lars does box, he can go to soft and look at grabbing the fastest lap as well.
Yeah, and every point matters, especially in a championship season like this, as Baki's going to get through, and just pure grip advantage here for Baki. Can absolutely fly through. Luca Rapaza now has to navigate his way past Lars as well, as we see Knuff and Ethan there trading positions as Ethan goes off track there on the exit of turn 19. As look at this now, Lars getting absolutely swamped by the fresher medium compound tyres, and honestly, it might even be worth potentially pitting for a little bit earlier for another set of mediums for Lars potentially.
Yeah, the truck is known for high degradation, so even if he was to box for another set of mediums, he's going to want to give himself enough time here so he can potentially try and grab the back of the field, as there is a few gaps back there, so some of the drivers do not have the DRS to pull them around the circuit. So if he does want to, he might want to box as soon as possible for a new set of mediums and look to gain as much points as he can.
As Miguel able to get through on the last, but they get held up quite a bit in sector 1, so not ideal for the CPI driver, who is now outside the DRS range on Luca Rapaza, as you see Knuff now trying to get through on Lars, and Lars is actually going to fight this quite considerably, knowing that this is potentially the only way that you can kind of back up some of these guys, and then you'd see Ethan sneaky a little lunge down the inside in towards turn 15, gets the job done on Knuff, and Knuff now kind of boxed in behind these guys and falling a little bit victim now to the guys in behind, because struggling to get past Lars.
Yeah, and Court is also looking to take advantage of this opportunity of Lars holding back Knuff. So maybe he will be looking down, but here goes Knuff into the inside, into turn 1, and he is going to get that move done by the exit.
Yeah, absolutely brilliant stuff there from Knuff to get that position out of the way early on. I think now that Lars is behind Knuff, the best thing he could probably do is come into the pits himself. So right now, obviously, we got Gustav in the lead, 3.5 seconds to gap to Marlon in second place. Baki currently in P3, ahead of Luca Rapaza, as these guys will be using DRS possibly to train each other onto the back of Marlon for P2. Then we've got Mika obviously falling a little bit further behind due to the fact that he lost out on DRS, being stuck behind the ETA driver earlier on. As we see the Haas of Bombier having a look down the inside of Lars into turn number 12, and I think job done for Bombier maybe, as Lars going to stick it down the inside, but just does not have the grip to really compete. And look at that, that's Danko there switching it all the way to the inside, trying to get the move down on Nick, and Nick able to hold on to P11, but now Nick has to get past Lars here, so let's see if Nick's going to be able to get through on the ETA driver as swiftly as some of the other drivers have up ahead.
Nick is doing a great job at recovering from the early spin he had. He is back into the top 10 now with this move on Lars up into turn 1. So Nick right there, he's making his way back up through the grid, and now he's going to be looking at attacking Bonfi here at some point.
Next time to close back down that gap to Bumpier at the head. Bumpier is outside the 1 second on quads as well. So he's trying to close up as well to the GT10 driver. Of course, we have got a couple of penalties here. Obviously, CPI's lead killer, of course, GT10's quads, and of course, Dango for LT Sports in our 11th place, all having 3-second time penalties. Same with Falcos, the second GT10 driver in 16th place, as we see Dan get through on Nick, and with DRS has allowed Dango to get back within the range of Bumpier now.
Yeah, great idea from Nick to let Danko just overtake him into turn 12, use that DRS to their advantage to train back up to P9 of Bumpy. Now they're going to be maybe working together to even, catch back up the course here, but that's just a matter of time before we find out.
Yeah, absolutely, as we got trying to go into the back of Mika. Mika has fallen outside the 1 second window on Ethan, but Ethan unable to really get clear right now, because obviously Mika does have DRS from being within a second at the detection point. As you see, C getting through on the last falling through the order like a stone in water right now on those very warm medium compound tyres. We've got Ghost King into the pits, a set of soft compound tyres for him, as Gustav still leads the way. 3.8 seconds the gap to himself and Marlon, as it looks like Mika has had a bit of a moment and he's fallen down the order, and heartbreak there for the CPI team. Of course, both of the drivers down low in the point scoring positions right now, as Max Power does get through on the last, so trying to get himself up the order. He's going to try and go for the double overtake, get that on Luca Kant as well. Max Power now putting the power down and trying to get himself up the order the best possible way he can, as Marlon's at the moment.
Oh, yeah, Maro did have a moment sector 3, and that allows Ethan around the outside of him in turn 15, heading into the triple right-hander here. Now Quartz is battling with Knuff right behind him in the triple right-hander of 16, 17, and 18 as we're making our way into 19, and Danko is also going to take advantage of that as well and puts himself into the P7 position.
Yeah, absolutely, as Danko gets through on Knuff, same with Quartz, as Marlon and Ethan now side by side coming into turn number 1. Marlon has had a big moment, lost a lot of time there, and another big thing to keep an eye on as well is the fact that Baki has broken out of the DRS range on Luca Rapazo here.
Yeah, so Luca being up into the podium, like I said earlier, all he had to do was just be patient, let everybody in front of him make a mistake, and he will see himself on the podium, and that's what he done just now. He got that 4-second gap behind him, so he can kind of preserve a little bit of battery, although I want to catch up to Baki and put himself in P2.
Yeah, Baki now in P2, Luca Rapazo P3, Gustav still leading the way as we see Ethan looking to get the move done on Marlon again. Up into P4 goes the GL man, as in the last race into Marlon. It was looking like a solidified P2, but one mistake really can cost you absolutely everything, and that is exactly what's happened with Marlon now, because he is a good 4.5 seconds off the back of the podium.
Yeah, that big mistake from Marin there is going to potentially allow kind of close that gap in the points, because he's down into the P5 position. But Knuth is also still in the top 10 with Lars even further down the order. But Lars, I'm going to assume at some point will be looking to box for a new set of tires and try and grab the fastest lap. to give himself an extra point here.
Yeah, and I can see that coming anytime soon from Lars. Does have that 3-second time clock. He's down in 14th place now. So I mean, it would be ideal just to make sure you get that fast as that point. Chuck on, reset the soft on tires and job done there. But it is Ghost right now as the fastest lap of the race, and it's a 34.4 from GL's Ghost. So right now, the fastest lap point is going the way of GL, but will it stay that way by the end of this race? Who knows what will happen at 23 or 21.
Yeah, and Ethan there for GL also being top 5 is actually a really good ride by him as Morrow just takes over the inside line into turn 12 and gains that P4 position. So Ethan and Morrow definitely trying to work together, but they're giving each other the inside line, which does hinder their ability into the braking zone. So that they're going to want to try and figure out, because that gap is continuing to open up. We're at 4.7 seconds to the back of Luca.
Yeah, neither driver really making it easy for the other. They're allowing the inside line, knowing that it's compromising them in the corner, so maybe you can get better traction on the exit. But right now, it's hindering both Marlon and Ethan, so just falling even further behind the likes of Luca Rapaza and obviously Baki up ahead of them. And what we're seeing is the train now beginning to form because these guys are battling. As Lars now into the pits and puts on a fresh set of soft compound tyres.
Yeah, so the train has all gotten back together, so I'm thinking Morrow and Ethan at this point are not concerned about putting themselves back on the podium, and they're just going to fight it out, especially the rest of the field all closed back up behind them. A small mistake can cost you a lot of positions at this time of the Grand Prix here, as we're working our way out of turn 11 down the long back stretch for turn 12.
Yep, and here comes Ethan closing on Marlon and will probably go for the move. Nope, backs out of it. And that is going to cost him, because look at that. Danko down the inside of Ethan, going to try and get this move done as they come now in towards turn number 13 and through 14 now. Side by side, wheel to wheel, and it's Ethan that is going to come out on top here.
Yeah, Ethan definitely came out on top there, backed out of the move in 4, but Danko wanted to take advantage of the opportunity, was not able to capitalize there. Now he's got course all over his rear diffuser here as we're coming through the final corner.
Yeah, absolutely. As Nevertheless Racing's Harley coming into the chat asking what's happened to Marlon. Marlon had a big moment where he lost a huge amount of time and fell from P2 down to P4, and of course right now is battling with Ethan to try and keep a hold of P4 in this race, and he's in a big old battle right now, and I don't know which way he's going to go, but we're going to be interested in finding out, as they have been battling to the point that a lot of cars are now getting onto the back of them in this train, and this train now goes all the way down to Seed in 13th place.
Yeah, it's a very big train here. You know, for the drivers in the middle of the train, it's unfortunate because they are going to have, everybody in front of them will have DRS, so they can use it to defend and use it to attack, but you've got to get that exit in order to take advantage of the DRS down this long straight. As you can see, Ethan did jump out to the inside to break off of the slipstream from Marlon here as we go into turn 12. He was also using it to defend from Danko behind him, and we're coming through sector 3 into turn 15.
Yeah, Ethan trying to use DRS intelligently, stay onto the back of Marlon, trying not to lose the spot to Danko, who will not waste around. If the opportunity's there, Danko will go for it. We've seen that already, because the door was open marginally and Danko decided he wanted to step right through it. But Ethan, all over the back of Marlon for P2 with DRS, not going to go for the move into turn number 1. Going to be patient, going to save up that battery even more, as Marlon right now still has the superior ERS, but DRS is so poignant around here that I mean, it's a matter of time before Ethan gets through with DRS lap 26 of 28. As we see Alar setting the new fastest lap of the race, so picking up that fastest lap point for ET8 right now. Obviously, his teammate currently leading this race and by a sizable margin as well, 5.9 seconds. The gap between Gustav and Baki.
Yeah, Gustav having a great race up in the front. He has opened up that gap to almost 6 seconds, and so he just needs to keep that car under control for the final few laps here, and the victory will be his on the top step of the podium. Luca was onto the back of Baki at about 1.3 seconds. He's fallen off a little bit, 1.8 here as we're coming through the triple right-hander, but there is a big gap all the way down to Marlon at this 0.4. So from here, it's just going to be who wants to challenge for that P4 position, and we can see a lot of movement happening on the final few laps as we're heading into turn 20 for the penultimate lap here at the Circuit of the Americas.
Yeah, absolutely. On to the penultimate lap of the race we go. It is Gustav who leads the way. Baki in second place with Luca Rapaza completing the podium positions as it currently stands. And then we've got a 6 second gap back to this big old train that goes all the way down to Sieb in 13th place. As Mikola into the pits, going to put on a fresh set of soft tyres as well to potentially go for the fastest lap point and to try and snatch it away from ET8.
Yeah, Ghost King also did bots as well for another set of softs. So he's potentially looking to take the fastest point. So we're going to have a little bit of a battle for not only P4, but we also will have a battle for that fastest lap point between the bottom 4 or so drivers.
Yeah, absolutely. The fastest lap point, the guys at the back are going to be absolutely gunning for that. And of course, these guys in the midfield, they are right now trying to size up everyone around them just to make sure that they're not going to get caught out by anyone behind, but make sure they're alert to anything happening up ahead. And this is going to be absolutely key. If you're the likes of Bumpier or Knopf right now in the middle of this train, you know, as it currently stands, you're going to jump ahead of Dango and Quads due to their penalties, as we've just seen Nick pick up a penalty as well. So that'll be a huge sign of relief for the likes of Luca Card, Max Power and Sieb, of course, in P11, P12 and P13 respectfully. But I mean, if you're Knopf and Bumpier, do you risk trying to push and get yourself through this field, or are you happy to just take the 2 extra spots now due to the penalty? As we're on the final lap of the race now, guys.
At this point, I would definitely just kind of take the positions that you're given, because you got 1 DRS straight left, and to be able to overtake into P6 and then look at attacking Marlon is just not very reasonable. So if I was Knopf and Bumpy, I would just kind of just trail right behind him, make sure they stick within that 3-second window up to Danko.
We'll see what's going to happen here. Final lap of the race as Marlon using ERS and DRS to try and close in on Ethan, but I don't think he's going to be close enough to go for the move. But he will get as close as you possibly can get. And look at Bumpier now down the inside of Knopf here. This is for position, and this would essentially be for P6, but Knopf holds the inside line. As you see Nick trying to squeeze it through as well. On the inside line of oh my god, that was Luca Cart sending one down the inside of the pair of Nick and Bumpier, as Gustav does cross the line to take the victory. So we'll go back up to the front as Baki comes through to take on a P2. Luca Rapaza completing the podium as Ethan does hold on to P4 ahead of Marlon, and now we'll see Knopf and Dango move up into 6th and 7th place respectfully. But look at that gap, 18 thousandths of a second between Dango and Knopf in this race, which not ideal. Luca Cart in 8th place, with Quats in 9th. Bombier does complete the top 10 for IRT. Max Power in 11th. Sieb so close in 12th place. Nick down in 13th place. And then of course we got Lars in 14th. And I believe we just saw fastest lap change hands as yes, it has gone to Mikela for CPI. The fastest lap has been taken by a CPI. Unless Ghost King can do a new fastest lap right now, it's going to be a CPI's fastest lap point.
Yeah, CPI was able
he's done
to,
it.
and I think Ghost King just took it as he comes across the line for the fastest lap there. So it looks like it has gone to Ghost King there for the team. But in the end, the results, I mean, the Williams team of Neverlast Racing, they maximize their points here at Circuit of the Americas, and I believe that is going to help them open up that gap to P2 of ET8.
Yeah, absolutely huge for Neverlast Racing to be able to get a incredible result as a team, and I don't think it opens up the gap massively, but I do think because of it, Neverlast Racing has outscored ET8 here. We'll do the quick maths in just a moment in time, but the podium celebrations as good stuff. An incredible drive from him. Did not put a foot wrong for essentially the entire race. Obviously, did not have the best of starts, but you know, once he got back into the race lead, kept his head and just pulled the gap away. So let's run you through the order one more time. It is good stuff here for ET8. Does take a victory. I can't lie, the tag is confusing me. I'm not gonna lie. Baki comes home in P2 for TF10, and then of course we got Luca Rapasa for X Esports completing the final podium position. Outside the podium position, we got GL's Ethan, Marlon Knuff, Danko, Luca Kart, Quads, Bombier rounding out the top 10. Outside the top 10, we got Max Power, Sieb, Nick, Lars, Felkos, Mikela, Ghost King with the fastest lap, and then of course our only non-finisher was of course Shazuz Dara, who retired early on in the race. And Damon, a very interesting race, one where I do think Neverlast Racing have increased the gap. I will just have a quick look at the point system to kind of confirm or validate that, as it was of course a P5 P6 finish for them. In fact, actually no, ET8 is actually closed in a little bit, so there we go. Of course
Oh yeah,
yeah, go on.
I think they only P5 and P6 you said? Yeah, so
P5
ET8
P6.
did close the gap a little bit.
Yeah, and of course that
They only
is
closed it, I think, by like 2 or 3 points, but you know, every point does count when you get towards the end of the season as well.
absolutely every point does count indeed. And obviously considering how this race went for like several of the drivers here, obviously a couple of incidents here and there, I'm expecting these positions to change as well. So that might not be how things end in terms of the post-Stewards report. But honestly, guys, I mean, an incredible race here in the Circuit of the Americas. And that is going to wrap things up for Division 1 here tonight. However, we like to bring your attention to the calendar, because of course in a fortnight's time we go racing at, honestly, it's either loved or hated by the F1 community. It is Baku. We head to Azerbaijan, Damon.
Yeah, it is a love-hate relationship with Baku. It's a love relationship if you can get out front. It's a hate relationship if you're stuck in the middle of the field. A lot of opportunity for rear locking as well. So it will be an interesting race, especially with it being a very close wall circuit. So I'm excited to tune in for this one. Maybe even another opportunity to commentate it as well, but I will be paying attention to this race.
Yeah, absolutely. As Azerbaijan will promise to be a very intriguing race, one where it's going to be a race of attrition in a fortnight's time for these guys in Division 1. Of course, the castle section, very unforgiving. If you do put a foot wrong, it could be the end of your race. And then, of course, after Azerbaijan, it will be Australia on the 9th of April, Qatar on the 23rd of April, and then, of course, the season finale on the 7th of May in Suzuka. But, of course, next week, Division 2 goes racing around the Circuit of the Americas, so there will be more action next week, of course, in Division 2. But for Division 1 here tonight, I have been Michael Edwards. He has been the Johnny Damon, and we'll catch you again for more action here in Velocity Ultimate Masters Team Racing League. Until then, guys, it's good night from the pair of us. Good night.
They been on their ass, bitch, I'm on the rail. I wrap it, I bag it, I pack it for sale. Got feeling on speed out, I hit me to chill. I give it a thrill, I put it on film. Niggas facade, get applaud, that ain't real. Come to my section and flex, we can tell. I got a show and she dipping them nails. I'm flipping my L's, I know they can tell. I did it too major, they hit me for favors. Been him since the cable was cut in the cradle. What's up, only right that I do it. Colossal until I'm a boss, so they want me to fail. Look, we prevail. Tell them to point out who said it, they run it. Bitch, I'm on your tail. Know that they talking, they telling them tales. Just know how to tell, that shit for the sale.
Honestly, I know it's hard to believe, but you have to trust me. It's got maximum taste and zero sugar.
Stop playing games, wooden boy.
No, I'm a real boy.
Pepsi Max. Maximum taste, zero sugar. Try and believe.
What do you see here? Maybe history, or maybe it's the future.
Amarti mi consola. Amami ancora. Fallo dolcemente. Una promessa, un'ora.
Tonali plug-in hybrid, a new charge of sportiness.